Are you cringing every time you have to get into bed? Every time you have to turn and roll around? Every time you need to bend down to tie your shoes or put your socks on? And it's so weird because you're not even sure if the pain is coming from your back, coming from your hip, coming from somewhere else in between. Is it muscle? Is it tendon? Is it ligament? Who knows? It's driving me nuts, but I want to figure it out. SI joint pain can be really, really tricky, but in this video, I want to show you exactly how I test patients in the clinic, how I tell if it is or if it isn't SI joint dysfunction, and how we can often see that different issues couple with SI joint pain, and so how we get rid of that altogether in a matter of minutes. Not only that, I want to show you my favorite short-term and long-term relief strategies so that you can feel better and sleep better tonight and get back to taking care of your family just like you should be able to. And here's the truth that I learned about SI joint dysfunction. Because these are the three biggest bones of the body that come together to make the biggest joints of the body, this injury is one of instability. However, the good thing is that when you can control your core properly and understand what the core actually is, you can heal this relatively quickly, and it is meant to heal. It's not something that you have to live with chronically, even if it is something that you've struggled with for quite some time. So we're gonna jump in real quick to some of my favorite tests, some of my favorite quick pain relief techniques, and then make sure to stay to the very end so you can learn how to move without aggravating these symptoms. So the first test is called the stork test. And what we're going to do is to look at the pelvis and see if it is level or even. We want to then raise up one leg and raise up the knee to about 90 degrees with the knee bent. What we're looking for is the pelvis on the active leg, the leg that's being lifted, to roll downwards looking from the back. We're going to test both sides. I also am looking for balance here. Can you control that motion? And does the pelvis move in the proper way? Sometimes if there is SI joint dysfunction, the pelvis is going to be a little stuck, as some would say, and not move, or there's going to be a significant balance issue on one side compared to the other. So let's go ahead and see how you do. Now, the pain pattern with SI joint dysfunction typically goes a little something like this. Right at the base of the tailbone, right in the middle of the tailbone, where the tailbone meets up with the ilium, that we have a little bit of discomfort. And it's typically one side, not both sides. It definitely can be both sides. And one of the other tests, quick test here, is to just touch that area. Is that your spot? It's where the two bones come together, not where the soft tissue meets. So double check that and see, do I have a yes? Do I have a no on my affected side? So we've got our sacrum right here that comes across the lower back, comes down and makes your tailbone. And it usually is painful right there where the two joints meet, where the ilium meets the sacrum. That's the SI joint. Other people will have pain in the center of the glute, and that's going to be your piriformis muscle, or on the outside of the hip, and this can be right around your hip bursa. Our next test is your squat test, and I would suggest putting your phone up or your laptop camera up, having a mirror there available for you. All I want you to do is to either A, squat, and see how you do. Do we shift to one side? Does the pelvis shift in? Do I go with my knees forward? Am I not using my hips? And if squatting is challenging for you, you can always place a chair behind you and see if you can stay level as you go into your squat. Or if that's really hard and you tend to favor one side consistently, are you going towards the pain? That's the question, and if so, check that box. And our last test here is a bridge with a march. What we want to be able to do without too much cueing is to be able to raise our hips up and then raise one leg and see if we can hold that. We're going to then raise the other leg, and can we hold that? Now, when you did your bridge, were you able to get all the way up to a straight line between your knees and shoulder blades? As you were holding that, did you notice your prime mover, the muscle doing most of the work, being your hamstring, your glute, or your lower back? Which one was it for you? Go ahead and comment in the comments below. We want your glute to do the work here. Similarly, when we go to one leg, we want the glute to still be your prime mover and your pelvis to be level. So we don't want to see the drop in that pelvis when you shift side to side, right? We want, as I mentioned, this is an injury of instability. So we want to see if there is, you guessed it, instability. So here are two of my favorite techniques for quick SI joint pain relief. We want to support and help to stabilize that area because, again, this is an injury of instability. So what I have here today is an SI belt and some KT tape. And the great thing about these is A, they're cheap, B, they're effective, C, they can be done together. So I want to show you how to first apply the KT tape and some of the principles of KT tape if you haven't used it before. And then there's several different brands and styles of SI joint belts. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what it is, what it does, how to apply it. So here we go. So for the KT tape, you want to cut 3 pieces. The first piece is going to be somewhere between 4 and 5 inches. The next pieces are going to be somewhere between 7 and 8 inches. You'll cut them and then you'll round the edges so that the edges don't get caught on clothing, because that's really what starts to come up fairly quickly. And you want to leave the KT tape right on, place it directly on your skin, and leave it somewhere between 2 and 4 days typically. You can shower normally, pat dry, and as long as you're not getting any redness, itching, or irritation, it's good to go. We're going to use the tape to help stabilize that SI joint, and really it just gives a little bit of support, improves blood flow, but damn it if it doesn't work. We're going to place the tape right here, as I mentioned, at the top of the sacrum, so it's a little bit lower than the iliac crest or the hip crease. So if you can find that hip bone, come down just a little bit. It's usually a couple inches for most people, right? Not terribly far. And that 4 to 5 inches is going to come right across the tailbone. Your next strips, the longer strips there, are going to come down and in right towards kind of the close to the crack and right along that sacroiliac joint. You want to make sure that your central pain points, most people have one side is significantly worse or it's just one-sided for this SI joint dysfunction. You want to make sure that the tape comes right over that area and just kind of right close to the center or end of the tailbone. So down there by the cheeks, okay? Make sure that you come right in, and then you're gonna create a V shape or kind of a triangle shape for those 2 strips there. Do your best not to touch the tape. So what I recommend is to tear the ends of the tape. You're gonna create about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of an anchor for the strip right across the sacrum. Tear the end of the anchor, tear the end of the anchor, tear off the middle portion of the tape, right? So you're holding onto the paper, and then you're gonna place that strip right around here. Once you've completed the taping, so we're gonna separate about 25% and place that tape right along the tailbone there, and then peel the tape off, peel the paper portion off to create the ends, give it a little bit of a rub, and then similar thing here. We're going to tear the ends, pull the anchor off, create that little bit of a triangle space there right along that painful SI joint portion, and we're going to do both sides here. The SI belt can then be worn right over the top of clothing. You can do it under the clothing if you want to. Most of them are Velcro, so we're going to have the 2 bigger ends. It kind of does like a wave pattern. You want the 2 bigger ends right on the sides of your hips. Don't be shy to get this cinched up nice and snug there, and then to follow that around. This one's just a smidge too big for me, but they work all the same, right? So we're giving some compression and stability to that SI joint, so we notice less wonkiness, for lack of a better term. We want more stability, right? And this is going to roll right into our next steps of the SI joint resets. And don't forget to stick around to the end so you can get my favorite tips for moving forward with functional training. As always, if you have any questions or comments about any of this, go ahead and hit me up in the comments below. So next we're going to do an SI joint reset. And what a reset means is you've got lots of muscles around that pelvis, in the glutes, and around the pelvic floor. And there is a little bit of asymmetry in that tone. What we're trying to do is decrease the threat around the SI joint and get all of those muscles to work fairly evenly. So this isn't about max contractions or breaking the actual stick, but simply to get the muscles to turn on evenly. This is what the break the stick exercise looks like. You're going to lay down on your back here, and we're going to thread the stick, and I'm going to use right now a PVC pipe, but you can use a Swiffer handle, a dowel, an actual stick, anything that you have lying around. Don't go spending a bunch of money on this. And we want to hold the stick, and your legs are going to do opposite work here. So we're going to push down with the top leg, push up with the bottom leg, and again, just get the muscles of the hips and the trunk. Your abdomen should turn on immediately, and breathe. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. And so you'll see how one's not winning or the other. I'm just allowing myself to go to somewhere between 30 and 50% typically. Most importantly is that it is pain-free. Can we get to between 5 and 10 repetitions before fatigue sets in? And what we want is fatigue. Fatigue is a good thing, just not triggering discomfort at our spot. There we go. And so there's not a lot of backlash or dropping of the stick or the muscle groups as we move forward. I'm going to pretend that I did 10 there, and then I'm going to switch sides. Boom. And we're going to do the exact same thing on repeat here. Okay? Hold for our 3 to 5 seconds. Again, core engages as we breathe. Pain-free force of contraction equal through both sides. Next, we're going to do a bridge with a ball squeeze. I have a medicine ball here. You may not have that at home. Use a pillow. Use a couch pillow or a bedroom pillow. Doesn't really matter. Use a basketball, a soccer ball. Use a football, for crying out loud. Don't care. Doesn't matter. What matters here is that our feet are straight ahead. We're giving the ball a little bit of a squeeze. We're contracting our abdomen, so drawing that belly button in and wide, squeezing our glute. From there, we want to drive straight up, holding that squeeze, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Now, because this is an injury of instability, these little hold times tend to work really well. Get that muscle endurance of the pelvic floor, the glutes, and the transverse abdominis to continue to progress as you're able, as you see fit. And then we're going to take it from there, okay? So we're going to get our somewhere between 8 and 15 reps and do a minimum of 2 sets. So similar with the break the stick and the adductor bridge, keep looking for those muscle groups to win and hold as you breathe, not holding breath. And finally, we're going to go into our banded dowel hip hinge. And so what we're going to do is we're going to place a box or chair, a bench here in the gym right behind me. And I want my feet to be at least shoulder width apart, right? Give yourself some good space and make sure that your feet are pointing straight ahead equally. We're going to have equal weight bearing through both feet, so I'm right there in the middle. And I'm lightly opening my feet and pressing out against the band here to get my hips to turn on and my glutes to activate. I'm going to take that dowel stick and I want it to touch the back of my head, the back of my thoracic spine, and my tailbone. So I've got my hand right there at the tailbone, and I'm going to work to keep my glutes engaged as I come down to the chair. It's okay for my trunk to come forward ever so lightly. I actually want my shins and my torso to be nice and parallel, working through, landing softly. My cue for my patients here and you guys today is don't break the egg. If I put an egg on the bench, when you land, we don't want plopping, right? No scrambled eggs today. Let's be a good mother hen, pushing out, activating, core engaged, and then we're going to softly land into that bench. And it's a lot harder than you think. Even a chair tends to be really low for most people because we're used to shifting and getting around to pick up the toy or whatever it may be, and we tend to shift into that same side. So now we're changing some of that and really getting control of our muscle groups as we work into a functional squat. And that's all we've got for today. I hope that was super helpful for you guys. If you have any questions about any of the short-term or long-term relief strategies, go ahead and hit those comments below. You know what to do. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Don't forget to hit subscribe for all the future updates that we've got coming out. And if you need any further help, I'm happy to be there for you. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you again for being a part of this channel.